Okay, good morning. Good morning. I'm coming at you live from rainy California. You can see it. Actually you can't see it, but it's raining today. And I am coming with you a day early. Normally I do my lives on Fridays at 10 a.m. Pacific, but I am going to be in a powerhouse mastermind for the next 2 days, all day long. So I'm doing these a little bit earlier than normal. But for today, what I want to talk about, and it actually was something that came up last night, this topic, in my women's group, 7x7. And there's 10 of us in the group, and it's pretty small and intimate. And we're talking about values, and we're talking about balancing and the overwhelm and this pressure to do it all. And one of the women shared this analogy that I felt like really put it in perspective. And I wanted to share it with you because I've been thinking about it a lot. And I think it's something that we as women need to remember. So as a woman, as a mother, if you're a mother, as a wife, if you're a wife, as if you're a leader at your work, if you manage a team, if you're active in your community, whatever that is, you're juggling so many balls at once. Like there are so many balls that you're keeping up in the air and you're just trying to go, 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 keep them all, make sure nothing falls. And what this one woman reframed it as, and she said one of her friends had told her this, was you've got to think of the balls, all these balls that we're keeping afloat in the air. You actually really need to think of them as made of different materials. So you've got your glass balls, you've got your plastic balls, and you have your rubber balls. And the glass ones that you're juggling, you don't want those to drop. Those are things like making sure your kids are safe, making sure they're fed, making sure your mortgage is paid, your rent, making sure you finish your deadlines for your projects that you're on for work. Like there are certain glass balls that you just got to keep going. Then there's the plastic balls. Those are the ones that, if they drop on the floor, things are going to be okay. And this could be something like your kids end up having pizza 2 nights in a row. Or if you're like me, you followed my stories, my daughter ate leftover pasta for breakfast. She did. She wanted it. I thought about it for a moment. I'm like, it's carbs. It's got red sauce. Go for it, lady. Absolutely. And then there's the rubber balls. And those are the things that, you know what, if they drop, they're just going to bounce and someone will pick them up for you. And you don't have to worry so much about it. Maybe you can ask for help. And I think when we think about our lives, it's really helpful to compartmentalize what are those balls and how could you categorize them as glass, as plastic, or as rubber. And with that, also thinking about your values. So how do your values dovetail into this? Because in my example with having my daughter eat leftover pasta for her breakfast, someone who has an incredibly high value with health and some level of nutrition that would just find that to be completely like a non-starter, that's okay. That's maybe not a ball that you would consider plastic. So what is a ball that would be plastic for you? Maybe it's one of the activities. Hey, Abby, I see you there. Maybe it's one of their activities that they're doing that you're racing them all to get to. Maybe it's that art class that one of your kids is in that hates going to it every week, but you still keep doing it because you think it's the right thing to do. Like maybe that's a plastic ball. But it's really important to start to consider what stuff can go. And you, and only you, know what that is. And no one else can make those choices for you. Because at the end of the day, life is all about choices. And the choices you make becoming clear in the observer of your life and knowing how those choices sit with you. So again, it's like if you're constantly seeking advice and saying, oh, I'm so overwhelmed, I'm so stressed out, I got to take, I just can't keep doing this. I just can't keep doing this. And you're asking someone else to tell you, they're going to be saying, they're like, oh, well, don't put so much pressure on yourself to be, making a gourmet meal, or don't put so much pressure on yourself to have your kids in so many activities, or don't put so much pressure on yourself to raise your hand to be the leader at work all the time for everything, or don't put so much pressure on yourself to check email at night or on the weekends. Well, for some people, that's okay. Like they could make that boundary, but for some, it just is not going to be possible. And that's why it's so important you get crystal clear on your values, on who you are, and what matters. Like what really matters at the end of the day. At the end of each day, what matters. At the end of a month, what matters. At the end of a season, what matters. When you reflect on a year, what do you want to remember that year for? And I think as women, we try to, if we look at our wheel of life where we've got, our jobs, we've got our families, we've got our own self-care, we've got fun and recreation, we have health, we have fun that we want to do. I mean, there's so much there. And I know you don't want to pull from anything. Everything isn't important. Everything is a priority. But if everything is always trying to be balanced and be an equal priority, that's where that feeling of I'm not really winning or being fully vested anywhere comes into play. And so one of the things that I have the women do in 7x7, this program, is actually narrow down what's your pie, like what's your area of focus for this season going to be? And that's really hard for them because to them, it feels like it means I'm putting something else maybe on the back burner. But what happens is life is, when we think about balance, getting away from a scale that's like evenly balanced like this, like that's where we set up ourselves for failure, is when we think everything's going to just be even. And there's this holy nirvana that I'll get to. Once I get everything balanced, then I will be good. Then I will enjoy life. Stop. That's not real. That's an image in our head. That's a false perception of reality. Balance is really, if we think about it, when we're standing, it's all about, if you're balancing on this foot first, and then something pushes you, being able to adjust and to calibrate and to still stay centered and grounded. And then if you switch feet and something else focuses, how you again balance. What do you say yes to? Which means what are you going to say no to? It's like you're at a buffet and you just keep piling on the food and things are spilling off and you think you're going to eat it all. You're going to end up sick. You're not feeling gross. So what's coming off the plate? Where are you going to prioritize? Where are you going to focus? What are you going to let go? And where are you going to be okay with some uncertainty? Where are you going to let go of some of that control? We like control. And control is not necessarily a bad thing, but it does ourselves a disservice when we're trying to control everything and we're trying to control parts of our lives that we just don't have control over. One of the biggest areas that I think we struggle with control is when we try to control another person's choices and actions. Anytime you are saying that person shouldn't be doing something, or your kid shouldn't be doing something, or your partner shouldn't be behaving a certain way, or someone at work shouldn't be always acting and behaving a certain way, you're getting in their business. And truthfully, if you ever find yourself, I was listening to this podcast this morning about being at peace with yourself. It was Michael Singer. I love Michael Singer. He wrote The Surrender Experiment and The Untethered Soul. And he was just talking about this whole idea of like, you kind of taking on that mindset that we teach, or that you'd learn if you were ever going through like recovery or addiction, which is no one makes you take that drink. Oh, my husband makes me drink. Oh, my job makes me drink. It's so stressful. Like, no, you're choosing that. You're choosing to do that. You're choosing to allow that part to steal your energy. So much of this practice of life, of creating your own world of resilience, is energetic boundaries, of saying where you're going to cut things, where you're going to let something just flow past you, maybe where you're going to let something bounce off of you, but not to be so tethered to everything, and to not give other people and other experiences permission to rock your world. Now, I know I'm oversimplifying this, and I know that it's a lot harder putting it into practice. And that's why it's so important we start to train ourselves, because thoughts become emotions, which become feelings, which become our vibration. And what we put out in the world is what we get. So it's so, we'll still have thoughts. It's just a matter of what do you do with those thoughts? And as you practice this, and it's a practice, as you practice it more and more and realize what it triggers in you, and you start realizing that response your body has to something, and then observing it. That's the key, is to start to just observe, listen and observe. You can start to detach and say, that's not me. That's just a reaction in this moment that's happening. I'm not defined by my feelings. I'm not defined by my emotions. We are human people with human experiences, living in a human world. So this is the kind of stuff, if you relate to it and you are trying to, figure it out and find some techniques and experiences, this is what we're going to be practicing next week for the workshop that I'm hosting. It is called How to Awaken the Courageous Woman Within. And I'm defining courage as being able to shine the light on the parts of you that you're most scared to pay attention to. I'm defining courage as the ability to look there, explore there, and get curious in a safe space. And so this is an interactive workshop. You aren't just sitting back and taking notes and learning a bunch of tools. You're going to actually be experiencing them firsthand. If you're someone that feels like you're carrying the weight of the world, or you feel like you're on the hamster wheel and you just can't get off and you can't catch your breath and it doesn't even seem like it's possible, then this is where we're going to give you just a taste, a sample of it is possible. It is possible. But the first step is for you to make a choice and to take action and to carve out that time. Because I can't do it for you and no one else is going to do it for you. And you need to do it for yourself. No one else is going to know if you didn't show up. You could register, have the best intentions of the world, and let me tell you, life will happen. Just be ready, because there will be a reason why it's not convenient to actually show up. Those are always what I see as mini tests of how serious, how much is your pain really? How much do you really want to change? How ready are you really? Because we often get wrenches thrown in our plans to see what really matters and what patterns are going to continue to surface and stay. And I had one woman last night who showed up, but she told me, she left me a message and she said, Lauren, I wasn't going to come tonight because I am so overwhelmed. She is a single mom to 4 kids. She works full time. She's married, but her husband's away right now on a work project, and she's juggling it all. And she said, I feel like I'm drowning at times. And the first thing to go, she's like, I'm laughing at myself because the first thing to go for me was going to be showing up tonight for our session. And I decided, I was talking to my support sister. So I pair women up in the group so that they can connect and support one another. So she's like, I was talking to my support sister earlier, and she was like, but that's why we're here. Like, that's exactly what this is all about. And sometimes we need someone else to advocate for us and remind us of our why. So she showed up, she came, and she's like, it's exactly what I needed. I feel centered again. I feel energized. I feel like all of that swirl in my head that was so massive was just an illusion. And I just needed some of that time and space for me to connect with other women, connect with myself, and to get out of the storm, like to actually step out of it so that I could view it objectively and say, oh my gosh, that's a lot happening there. I don't want to always be in it. Because when we're in it, when we're drowning, we can't actually get ourselves, it's hard to get out of it. And the only real way you can get out of it is if you choose to, or, life forces you out of it, which is not the way you want it when you have a breakdown or health scare or something like that. So tune in to yourself and just listen. And just slow down and ask yourself if this is what you need. If you need to take some of that guilt and that pressure off. Just a quick story, something that showed up for me this past week, I think might be relatable to you. So 2 weeks ago, I went to my daughters. I have 4 kids, but 3 girls, and they all conveniently have gymnastics class at the same time, which is great because it's like, I'm all about efficiency. Like one drop off, we can all be there. They all have their class, different classes, but at the same place. So 2 weeks ago, I was there and I wasn't fully unplugged yet from work. And I was still doing some work while I was at the class. And I finished it. They finished their class. And one of my daughters came up to me and she's like, Mommy, did you see me on bars? And I'd seen her for like a split second, but I definitely was not fully present and focused. And that guilt sat with me. And I was like, what is the point of all this, Lauren, if you're taking them, but you're not even making yourself time to be fully present? So there was this whole dialogue that started to play in my head. And I was like, okay, I got to do an experiment. I got to see, I want to test something next week and see how it feels, if it feels different. So last Tuesday, I took them again. I said, Lauren, if you're going to take the time off from work, don't try to be there and do 2 things, right? Don't try to be physically present and you're there and then mentally checked out doing something else. That just ends up feeling worse. So I made a conscious effort, did not bring a laptop, put my phone on airplane mode, and I'm just like zeroed in on watching them. I'll be honest, it wasn't that interesting because it was gymnastics practice. It was them stretching. And I was feeling like, oh, come on, keep focusing. And then I lifted my head up and I looked at the other parents around me. Because this whole story was like, you're a bad mom. You're not there. You're not really being present with your kids. Not one parent that was there. There were probably like 15 to 20 parents was zeroed in focusing. They were on their phone. They were talking to another kid. They were talking to their neighbor next to them. They were physically there, but they weren't present. And I share this because I had made this whole story in my head that I was not good enough and I wasn't being present enough and I should be more engaged. And I have to just sometimes ask myself, well, what do I need? Like what really matters? And make a choice from that standpoint. And be okay with that. And for me, it was like, now it was really, this experiment showed me that, you know what? Pay attention for some of it, but you do not need to give yourself 45 minutes to an hour of undivided attention of just watching your child, each apparatus going from thing to thing. For some people, that feels great. Didn't fill my cup. It was great to see them. I was proud to be there. But I think I was okay also dividing some of my time, but just being fully present, doing some work, and fully present watching them for a bit. So I'm curious. I see Abby says, you're right. I agree with you. I think that was on something else I was talking about. I'm just looking at the comments here now. So Abby, I don't know if you're registered for the workshop next week, but I'll pop it into the comments. Let me do that right now. Hopefully you can make it. One, you said, how do you overcome that? Can you please tell me? I'm not exactly sure what you were referencing. So if you can put that back in the comments, I will reply back to you. A lot of this stuff that I'm talking about, broadly speaking, is carving out time for you, is self-care. but how you define that self-care is really important. And the intention and the energy you put behind the self-care matters even more. So I don't believe that you can just check a bunch of boxes and say, oh, I did my meditation. Oh, I did my journaling. Oh, I did my time in nature. Like, I moved my body and you weren't present during it and you weren't doing it with intention. I think that that's just adding more to your plate and adding more guilt and more pressure. But when you do these things, these practices with intention and as a practice of it's, practice makes progress, not practice makes perfect. And you really do find that time. I'm a believer in the morning. I think if we set ourselves up and we tune our energy and we connect and we ground and center ourselves right at the start of the day, we have so much more focus and ability to be present because we've already filled our cup. Hopefully you've gotten a good night's sleep, and a good day starts the night before. So it's so critical that if you're thinking about your next day, you're already putting yourself to bed with some good sleep hygiene. If you do not have a sleep routine and you're not practicing sleep hygiene, you are missing out on quality rest. Again, all rest is not created equal. So it's about having it be quality. Even the hours and how you map it with your circadian rhythm matters, really matters. So I hope if you can make it next Thursday. Like I said, it's going to be interactive. I'm really looking forward to all of you being there. It's going to be 90 minutes and it is during your workday. So this is going to have to be a choice of saying, and I'm making this time for me. This is an investment. And my reason why is because maybe my job is feeling like too much right now. Or maybe I'm feeling not present with my kids. And so my intention is by giving myself a little bit more, I will actually be more present, more patient with my family. I will be more energized in my job. Just sit with that for a second. I'm also curious. I actually have had a few of you email me and message me and just say, I can't make it during the workday. That's just a complete non-starter, but let me know if you ever do this again in the evening or on weekends. I'm willing to test that. Like, I'm always about experimenting. I've done a couple workshops on weekends and I have found that is equally as challenging because there's activities and that's family time, and evenings you're exhausted and there's time zones. So there's a lot of factors to consider. And I'd love to hear from you. I don't want to be making these decisions in a vacuum because this workshop is really about serving you. So if you feel like you would really carve out the time on a weekend, and I'm thinking like a Saturday morning or a Sunday morning at like 8 Pacific, which would be 11 Eastern, that's an option. I could also do it in the evenings, like after 5:30 Pacific, which would be like 8:30 Eastern. If you think that, like, yes, like that's me. If you just did that, Lauren, I would be at your workshop, then tell me that. Give me that feedback. That's really helpful. And I'll play with that for the next go around. Okay, everybody. Tracy, great to see you here. I can't wait to see you on Thursday. I've enjoyed getting your emails and hearing what's real for you. So thanks for continuing to show up and share. All right. Look forward. Hope everyone has a wonderful Thursday. I've got to jump into my class now. I'm going to be in class for the next 2 days, learning all sorts of cool new ways, mind tricks, good stuff, ways to continue to keep me grounded and centered. And so I can pass that forward to you as well. All right. Have a wonderful day. Thanks again.